Tommy Egan's evolution into a lone wolf doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of betrayal, mistrust, and losses that pile up until he feels like he can only rely on himself. In Power Book 4, Force, the betrayal by CBI is a turning point, one that shifts everything he once stood for. To understand why Tommy isolates, we need to trace the betrayals, the personal costs, and how his personality makes him retreat into lone wolf mode when alliances fail. From the beginning of Force, Tommy enters Chicago as an outsider with big goals. He is ambitious, confident, and used to having to fight for every piece of ground. He's no stranger to betrayal, but in Chicago, things are more complicated. The local power structure, CBI, Flynn family, rival gangs, operates on fragile loyalties and shifting interests. Tommy's decision to align himself with CBI is strategic. He needs muscle, local reach, legitimacy, access. But that alliance already comes with risk built in, because Tommy's presence changes the dynamics. He's not comfortable being just another cog. He wants respect, control, influence. So when CBI doesn't fully trust him, or worse, when they move against him, Tommy feels betrayed in the deepest way. One of the early signs is how Tommy tries to operate within CBI, but is always aware there are weak links. Moments where Tommy suspects someone in his circle is a snitch or working behind his back are not just plot devices, they chip away at his sense of safety. He starts thinking, if they won't protect me, or if they're willing to throw me under the bus, why should I trust anyone? The betrayal by CBI isn't a single event, but a series of decisions and omissions. CBI refusing full support, being willing to compromise when pressure comes, allowing internal enemies or rival factions to threaten Tommy's operations. A clear moment is in Season 1, Episode 9, Trust, where Tommy realizes he can't fully lean on CBI. He's a lone wolf except for Liliana and JP, but he tries to get help from Diamond. Even then, Diamond hesitates. The show makes it clear. When CBI is tested, Tommy becomes exposed. He turns to the Serbians because he has no choice. The allies he expected to back him refuse, or are uncertain or self-interested. He knows that the Serbs are loyal only to money, not familial loyalty. But in that moment, Tommy values certainty more than moral alignment. Because moral alignment didn't protect him. Trust didn't protect him. He starts operating solo, knowing that independence gives him some control over betrayal. TV over mind. The betrayal becomes more personal with each loss. Tommy's emotional world is tied up in relationships. Liliana, his nephew D-Mac, JP. When people he cares about are hurt, and when the people who are supposed to stand with him, CBI, or those close to CBI, fail to protect them or, worse, are complicit in the threats, Tommy doesn't just lose business, he loses pieces of his soul. When Liliana dies, that loss is something CBI doesn't feel in the same way Tommy does. That gap grows. When Tommy has to make moves alone, avenging her, protecting his family, surviving CBI's machinations, the cost is high emotionally and psychologically. Mistrust becomes survival strategy. There's also the theme of respect. Tommy has always demanded respect. In New York, he built a reputation. When he comes to Chicago, he expects to earn respect, not only from rivals or enemies but from those who partner with him. Betrayal by CBI is not only about broken promises, it undermines his identity. When CBI's actions suggest they see him as useful but not indispensable, or that they're willing to undercut him when convenient, that strikes at his core. To survive, Tommy starts to protect that identity by detaching, becoming more solitary, depending less on others' loyalty. Another factor is that alliances with CBI are complicated. CBI is not a monolith. There are internal rifts, Diamond versus Jened, shifting factions, people who have their own agenda. Tommy's betrayal isn't always overt. It's sometimes being sidelined, being kept in the dark, being betrayed by proxy. The internal politics of CBI mean that Tommy can't always know who is friend or foe. That uncertainty feeds into his lone wolf mindset. If you can't tell who's working for you, you make sure you're always ready to go it alone. There are also strategic reasons. Tommy knows that when he depends on CBI, any leak, any mistake by someone else becomes Tommy's burden. He sees that CBI might protect themselves first before protecting him. When law enforcement pressure increases, when CBI operations draw attention, Tommy senses they might distance themselves from him or ask him to take blame. He begins to anticipate that betrayal. That anticipation makes him act preemptively, making decisions without consulting others, moving in silence, reducing risks that others bring in. We also see that betrayal has consequences in how Tommy handles power. When CBI betrays him or fails him, Tommy becomes more ruthless, more calculating, less willing to show vulnerability. He retreats inward. He makes fewer emotional decisions and more strategic ones. Whereas before he might have allowed some faith in loyalty, now he holds every card carefully, isolates his plans, compartmentalizes who knows what. Being alone is no longer just preference, it's protection. One example is how Tommy uses the Serbians. This isn't just about muscle, it's also about working with people who are transactional. The Serbs, in contrast to many in CBI, are loyal to payoff. There's no emotional ties, no legacy promises. Tommy can buy what he needs, control what's needed, and let go when it's compromised. It's a safer calculation from his perspective. When betrayal by CBI shows that promises without clarity or payoff are unstable, he gravitates towards clear, direct relationships, even if morally questionable. At the same time, being a lone wolf has costs. Tommy becomes more isolated, more exposed. No alliance means fewer resources, less protection, more enemies. The emotional toll is high. But the show seems to suggest that Tommy views those costs as the necessary price. He values autonomy over safety with strings. He'd rather be alone and powerful than be in a network that can betray him when convenient. The betrayal by CBI also forces Tommy to redefine what family means. Once he had a quasi-family in CBI, in their partnerships, in shared goals. But after betrayal, he perceives that family is unreliable. He leans into relationships that are more dependable, people who either are blood, like DMAC, JP, or who have shown themselves trustworthy through hardship. He distances himself from those who might be beneficial but are untested or vulnerable to shifting loyalties. Sometimes he uses them, but rarely gives them full access. This narrowing of inner circle is part of his lone wolf turn. Narratively, this transition also serves dramatic arc. Tommy becoming a lone wolf raises the stakes. When he's alone, his vulnerabilities are sharper, his decisions more consequential, his betrayals more painful. It allows the show to explore what happens when someone who built power through alliances has none or few. It's a crucible. He must rely on his cunning, strength, intuition. Mistakes cost more. There's no fallback when allies betray. Finally, this betrayal and Tommy's decision to go solo tie into what Tommy wants most: power, control, legacy. But his sense of what legacy means shifts after betrayal. It becomes about being unmoved by others, unbetrayed by structures, unbroken by the loss of loyalty. As CBI betrays him, by abandoning him, by acting against him, by mistrusting him, Tommy isolates not only for survival but to assert that no one else will define his rise or fall. He wants to be the factor, the originator, the one nobody can use or throw away without consequences. In conclusion, Tommy's shift to being a lone wolf isn't just emotional, it's logical given the betrayals and the nature of his character. CBI's betrayal forces him to guard himself, to shrink his circle, to make his moves with fewer people, to rely on relationships that are transactional and secure rather than sentimental. It's painful, isolating, but from Tommy's perspective, it makes him more powerful. The betrayal by CBI breaks something in him, but also sharpens him. When alliances crumble, the lone wolf survives. That's who he becomes, and the show makes it very clear that after betrayal, Tommy won't be caught off guard again. For more videos, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.